move further from the pandemic, we're getting new insights into the sharp increase in murders during that time. Ian Russell heard from experts today about what contributed to that rise. Ian?
Yeah, well, this is research conducted by the Violence Prevention Project out of Hamline University in St. Paul. They looked at years of data trying to figure out the root causes of homicides in the Twin Cities during the pandemic. The research spans all sorts of different circumstances and criteria, all to answer that big question here: why did we see a spike during the pandemic? When the pandemic hit, the world shut down and everything seemed to stop.
Well, 2020 was an important year because we spent most of it locked down because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
But one aspect of our lives kept going.
And this was really interesting.
And even seemed to spike.
But the point being is, crime declined, and then all of a sudden it went up, and then it really went up in 2020 and 2021.
Violent crime, something the United States saw, and
the Twin Cities were certainly not immune from that nationwide trend.
Their research shows that our homicide numbers in both Minneapolis and St. Paul spiked during the pandemic, the second highest number since 1960 for Minneapolis, the highest ever for St. Paul.
To try and explain why it was happening.
That's where this research comes in. According to the Violence Prevention Project at Hamline University, there are many reasons why this spike started. Possibly the biggest, though, was the pandemic.
There was a loss of some of the protective factors that perhaps we'd taken for granted that was so important in communities for stemming the tide of violence.
Researchers say the lack of extracurriculars and after-school programs led to younger people out in public getting into situations they likely wouldn't have had they had traditional school. Also discussed how the pandemic affected our mental health. But the biggest reason researchers found, arguments between people that escalated into more.
Turned to gun violence very quickly over seemingly very small things.
Very big concerns during a different time.
The findings are fascinating, shocking, and have potentially huge implications for the way in which we think about gun violence in society.
There's much more to this data that frankly would take a very long time to discuss. This presentation was about an hour long after all, and that included things like if any of these people who committed these murders had prior convictions, the age of victims, and the race of perpetrators. If you'd like to read this research for yourself, there's a link to it over on KARE11.com.